Morning. Welcome back to Coffee Station. It's been a while since y'all been here, and it's early June down here on the Red River, and I'm standing here. I'll get out on the porch in the shade or get somewhere where there's a breeze because it's getting pretty hot. We've had a lot of rain. The river's way up. It's pretty steamy. I'm not drinking coffee this morning. I'm drinking water, and I have thought about experimenting with just putting some coffee, grind up just a handful of coffee and throwing in the cup and drinking it cold because I'm betting that that will be better than Silas's boiled coffee. But I'll let you know. The question has been asked about, we'll call it provisioning in the summer. Now here, several months ago, we talked about provisions in the wintertime. Here, well, a lot of places they talk about having a garden, and generally the higher volume of trade traffic, the more hands you had to have, and so the bigger the garden. Now, Weaver, the guy from whom we got the description, did not say whether they had a garden or not, and he also did not say what time of year he visited Coffee Station. The summer months were the slow time as far as trade because the pelts weren't worth as much, and so it's the slack time of year, and that was when these places would resupply. And so Weaver did not say what time of year he visited here. He also, because he did not say, we don't know if the 12 men working here were a skeleton crew, which would have been the case in the summertime. This time of year, right now, it's June, early June, and we don't know if that was a skeleton crew or if that was a wintertime crew and the whole contingent of guys that they usually hired was here. We talked about the 4 Delawares in and out hunting and trapping. And we also talked about you're going to be eating, when hunting's bad, you're going to be eating salt beef or salt pork and hard water crackers or pilot bread. And pilot bread and hard water crackers, they were a 3-inch circle of unleavened bread. One was a 1/2 inch thick and one was 3/4 of an inch thick, as opposed to hardtack, which was a 3-inch square of unleavened bread with 9 holes poked in it. Evidently, armies and navies preferred the square. Places like this, for some cause, preferred the round. The salt pork and the salt beef, you'll read accounts where they would soak it in water for a day and a half or 2 days to leach some of the salt out of it, and then they would boil it for at least all day, maybe a day and a half, to leach more of it out, and even then, nearly every bite you had to wash it down with some water or some other form of more refreshing liquid because it was so salty. Gardens, one of the big things that they would raise was stuff that will keep. They'd raise a lot of cabbages. They would raise a lot, now sometimes you read about them raising corn. They would raise a lot of potatoes. The further north you went, like you get up around the Arctic Circle, provision was a big problem. Here, they think they grew a garden. They don't know for sure. These guys were only a 1/2 mile from the Red River, and so they think that they would fish. But here, they think they had a garden. They do not know for sure. The Delawares, one of the reasons they're hired is because they're really adept woodsmen, and the tribes here will know where the wild onions, the persimmons, the plum thickets, blackberries, possum grapes. They're going to know where all that stuff is, and these Delawares would most likely, in their excursions or hunting, in a 50 to 100 mile circle around this place, they would know where all of that stuff was too. So you're going to be able to have some fresh berries and the like that we were talking about during season. But the big products in the garden, and you'll read about them raising all kinds of stuff, peas and beans, but a lot of the, like up in British Columbia, they talked about potatoes and cabbages were about the only thing, because the growing season was real short, and those two items were about the only thing that they could grow because the growing season was real short. And one guy talked about in June, it had frosted so hard the night before that it froze the tops on the potatoes. But they would try to raise stuff that you could store in the winter and eat throughout the winter, so you've got some vegetable matter and you're not eating strictly wild game meat or the salt beef and salt pork and hardtack. They also talk about all the birds on the rivers, all kinds of ducks, geese. You'll read about them even eating swans and cranes. And so there was just about, well, at one time or another, I've read about trade houses in different places having eaten everything except a skunk. They'll talk about eating possums, where they had wolves, coyotes, bobcats. They talk about eating all, if it was meat, they'd nearly always, they would rarely pass it up if it was meat. So when the fresh meat is scarce, salt beef and salt pork is the mainstay, and it's pretty rank. The steamboat Arabia went down in the Missouri River in 1856, and among the items that they pulled up were kegs of salt beef and salt pork. And it was so salty, when you busted the keg open, you could still eat the stuff. It was still that well preserved because of all the salt in it. So hope that explained a little bit about what these guys were eating around this part of the world. I want to go hunt up Silas. I don't know where in the world. I think he went down the river to fish. Don't know for sure. We'll see y'all next trip.